tend to not use, but buy things to make your work with or buy new things. So I was just going to ask you about maybe the materials that are in this show and how you came about to use those materials.
Okay. I have to go back a bit, maybe to the year 2012 or so, when I came across an article in, it was the Sunday Times, accompanied by photographs by an American photographer called Chris Jordan, and the photographs were of albatross chicks, and they were decaying. We took the photos on Midway Island, which is halfway between Europe and America, and the chicks were fed plastic by their parents, and that's why they died. The parents mistook it for food. Apparently there's an island the size of Texas out there with plastic rubbish. They call it the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, I think. And when I saw the photographs, I wanted to comment on it. I knew that plastic pollution was a huge problem, but I didn't know that it was a problem to that extent. So I made a cast out of plastic detritus that I picked up on the beach in Brezing, and I actually made two casts, one for the belly and one for the mouth of a seagull. I was looking for an albatross, but I was told by the taxidermist who gave me the seagull that there's no albatrosses in Ireland, but he had a seagull in his freezer. So he prepared it for me. So that was kind of the first piece that I did, and then it continued from there. So this piece led me to, I think I was thinking of the larger, the fish that live in the sea and that also eat the plastic, and we eat the fish, and so there's continuum. It's a problem, like it ends up in our bodies. So I realized this is really something that affects everybody. So I was thinking of the largest fish there is, and that's the whale. So I decided to make a whale skeleton, and I suppose it came through experimentation with just, I can't quite remember how it started, but I must have experimented maybe with football, cut it apart to see what can be done with it, and I did the same with the GA ball. So this is obviously a soccer ball, and this is a part of a GA ball, and I should really I'm going to open this up so you get a better idea of what it looks like. When I saw it first. So
they're playing around with materials to get into those particular shapes as well.
Yeah. So when it opens up, I can see now. This one's a GA ball, and you can see it in parts here as well, even though the installation is mainly made of soccer balls. But yeah, by experimenting, by playing around with it, I came up with this crescent shape. And then I thought, if you continue this shape, you end up with a circle. And then if you put 50, 60, 70 circles together, you have eventually something like that, a skeleton of a whale. Inside there is what I always call the cocoon, and inside that cocoon, you can't see it, there's a sort of a human, we call it passenger, I think. And so when I was collecting the GA balls from GA clubs and schools, pretty much from all around the country, I think I went as far as Ballymena. They always gave me footballs as well, and I never knew what to do with them. But I didn't want to discard them. So I kept them. And one day I started just playing around with the football shapes as well. And you get different shapes from different, materials. So this kind of, you attach something else to that and it turns into something organic. And
I love that the shape kind of it dictates a certain amount, but then you kind of push it in different directions as well.
yeah, like with this one now, I stuck with that one shape and just, I suppose, copied it, 500 times or whatever to end up with that whale skeleton. But here I was more playful. I didn't look for one specific thing. I was thinking of the human body, the animal body, and some of the shapes are, I suppose, hybrids between the two.
Mm. And there's all sorts that you can kind of read into that. Like I was thinking of the kind of honeycomb, like from a bee, or there's other like that shape within it as well.
Yeah, this is made out of hexagons and pentagons mainly. It's like a puzzle between the two. If you only have hexagons or just pentagons, you actually can't make a football.
Mm.
And I remember as a kid, my father would come up for his lunch break and he would take out his yardstick and he'd make shapes, say something like that. And then he'd talk about what he was working on. And it would always have straight lines in it, and that's, I suppose, what it's designed for, really. But I looked at it a few years ago, and I was thinking, you can also do a circle with it. It's a very awkward looking circle, but it's a circle nonetheless. And symbolically, you could say that I kind of work with the circle, whereas back then, the people that I was surrounded by, they worked in the straight line. Mm. And you could also say that, the way they were thinking was sort of very linear, whereas my thinking is a bit more warped. Mm.
I suppose the rigidity and maybe some of the ways of working in Germany were quite different with how you were thinking. How do you feel like, I suppose you still have a bit of that in you, so how does that work when you're creating the work? Because I suppose you don't see too much of it in this, but is it there underneath, or is art a way of emerging from that?
Yeah, I think it's a way of turning it on its head in a way. And it took me a few years to build up the courage to do that. I think my painting in the beginning was very rigid. Someone once said that he looked at a particular painting and he said it's like painting by numbers. And I think there were a few moments where I was trying to become more experimental in how I work. And I was trying to embrace the accident. There was one moment when, I would say maybe 15 years ago, I was working in the studio. I had the paintings on the ground. I always work on several different paintings at the same time, and I had a yellow blob of oil paint on a palette knife, and I walked towards a painting, or I wanted to apply it, and it fell off the palette knife and onto another painting. And then one of my daughters came in, and we'd just been on a holiday in Germany. She said, "Did Germany put the sun there?" And my first instinct was to get rid of the yellow blob because it was an accident. It didn't belong there. And then after she said that, I thought, maybe it does belong there. It's an accident, and maybe that's part of the process. And from now on, you know, it's part of how I should work with accidents. And I sometimes think when, you know, I work in layers, like this painting, there's maybe 3 or 4 paintings in this, and it's accident on top of accident until that leads to something.